but it's been this like 10x career driver. Because everyone who I talk to, I go, I have a studio. Most of the studio building is based off of what is wrong with the room. I'm at this place where I'm asking people, like, why you want to start a podcast? Pomp is about that life. Pat McAfee in the sports world is about that life.
Crazy.
Like the Ben Shapiro's of the world, he's about that life. They show up every day and they do the thing. So if you want to be that caliber, you have to show up every day and do the thing.
Ooh, all right. Welcome to episode 3. And I have the privilege of having my boy, Matt Marlinkski, on the podcast.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Matt is the co-owner and one of the founders of the Manhattan Lab in New York, where they generate millions of views a month and they have celebrities come in. And you have probably seen a podcast episode filmed in Manhattan Lab. You probably just don't know it. So I'm pumped to talk to Matt Marlinkski, and thanks for coming on.
My pleasure, brother. Happy to talk.
Absolutely. So just a quick background story of how you got into video editing, video production. You had a couple of years in Miami and now you're back in New York. So if you just want to spend, 5-10 minutes of a quick background of basically how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, so I've always been a creative artist type more than anything. I mean, my interests have always been kind of two buckets, music and video. Since I was a kid, played music, and then picking up a camera in like the teenage years, right? So that's like you're filming skateboard videos with your friends, you're doing school projects with video. I did the morning announcements in high school. So I've always had this thing for video. But what's funny for me is like I never had much of an inspiration on video. So a lot of people will pick up a camera and say, oh, I want to be Scorsese, or I want to be a great director. I want to build these TV shows. I've always just kind of been drawn to it, but never had like a sticking point with it, which actually caused a lot of friction, which we'll get to. But really, I've always known pretty early what my things were. It was video and music. And at some points in my life, music was actually like the actual thing I wanted to do. But then life takes you in different directions. But I'm actually one of the few people who works in what we call new media. I actually went to like broadcasting school. So I went to college in New Jersey and I actually studied and wanted to work in television. And so it was this interesting journey of like, you get to a job, you think it's going to be the job, and it's not the job. So I got a job really quickly with working with the New York Mets out of college. And anyone that knows me, Tyler knows, he's probably going to nod along with this one. I am the biggest Mets fan on the planet.
100%. And
I live and die by that stupid goddamn team. And they break my heart. But anyway, I actually worked for their network. They had a TV network called SNY. At the time, the studio was 51st and 6th. So I actually worked for television, and my first job was a camera operator. So, and it was really cool because I got to learn all these positions, audio department, the control room, all these different things. And you really got to learn everything, which is cool. We got to see how TV works in the broadcast world. But then you saw the underbelly. And anyone who kind of works at a job and leaves that job or leaves that career knows that thing of you think it's the one, and then you look under the rock and you go, I don't know if I like that. It's a tough industry. It was kind of the very beginnings of the industry starting on a downward trend where technology was changing and the industry was changing, cable was changing. So I'm 38 years old. I graduated 2011, and then I started in TV around 2011, 2012. And you started to see things that were changing. You started to see that, like, instead of having 6 camera operators, some TV networks would build like a station that was robotic cameras, and just one person was controlling 6 cameras. You go, well, there's some jobs that are going away. Around halfway point through my SNY career, they built this smaller studio downstairs, like a control room B. So control room in televisions where all of like the directors, technical directors, producers all sit and they make the show. And it's basically like a wall of TVs, and they're cutting the show. Then they made the smaller one downstairs where one person could operate the whole thing. So I can do the audio, I can switch the cameras, I can talk to the talent, talk to the producers. And you sort of see like, oh, that's where it's going. And so like, if someone's in my studio, that's built just like that. It's like the one person army kind of thing. So you just saw these things happening. It was a rough industry, a lot of crappy people, bad hours. So it's like, I'm going to get out of here. But the pivot wasn't to, oh, I'm going to go into podcasting or even video as a career. Music was my thing. Like I love music, and I had to give it like a full shot. So there was years where I was working in TV from like 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then like taking my guitar and going to like an open mic or a show or something. And there was days I was working was CNBC Squawk Box, and because they were Squawk Box, which is a CNBC show, was using our TV studio in SNY, and I would work there like 4:30 in the morning, get out of work, and then like go do music. So it was crazy times. You could do a lot in your 20s.
Oh my gosh.
You could do a lot. Listen, if anyone's in 20 and they watched any of this stuff, like you can do so much more. But
I've heard that people say that you figure out what you want to do by doing a lot of things that you don't like to do, and then you just pivot to what you do like to do.
That's a big thing, and that's a big thing I learned also doing like the video, the music. So like that's where a lot of things changed. So I left TV in 2016. I toured for a bit. I went to LA for a bit, but I saw that it wasn't going to work, and I just didn't have the extra like thing that was going to take me to the next level. And I came back to New York. I was still doing music, but like at the time I was pursuing music, but then I was making videos and putting them on the internet. Like that was a time around, let's say 2016-ish, where like vlogs were really big on YouTube and, the Casey Neistats of the world. And I was filming my life, and I was like a maniac back then. I was flying around the city with like a camera bag in one hand, a guitar bag in another hand, and I was just like flying through the city doing every gig possible. And like, it was actually pretty cool. Like those vlogs are still online. Like I was just like getting after it. And so, but as time went on, I was doing the video, I was doing the music, but I started to get a little more in demand for the video, so, and it was funny because I was just making these videos for myself, and all of a sudden people would message me. At the time it was Facebook, which makes me sound like a ultra boomer, but, and they were like, "Hey Matt, how much you charge for video?" I was like, "I don't know, $100. And so my first clients were my musician friends filming their shows, and I became like the filming show guy. And so as like the years went on, like those 2-3 years, what was 50-50 was now more video, less music, right? And so you had to start to make some like really important changes and like or decisions, like what you're going to do with all this, right? You can't do both. Unfortunately, you get to a point in life where you can't do everything because these are high level skills. I'm in New York City, man. It's just like the best of the best are here. If you're talking just music, the best musicians in the world move to the city. If it's not New York, it's LA. It's one of those cities. You have to be great. You have to only commit to doing it. If you want to be great at any craft, like you have to pick one thing and go. You can pick multiple things throughout your life, but if you're going to get really great at one thing, you really have to hone in. But the next catalyst was definitely COVID. I mean, COVID changed everything for me. It's kind of weird because it's like for some people it's a bad period, for some people it's a good period, but for me, it kind of changed everything for, I would say, the better. So COVID hits, and then all of our gigs go to zero. Right before COVID hit, I actually things were kind of going really well. I had a bunch of video gigs lined up. I was kind of cruising. I was like, looking to expand that year. Everything goes to zero. And so like there was this period of early COVID, which I always laugh at, where, the sort of optimistic COVID days where people were on TikTok and Instagram being like, I'm going to learn how to make sourdough bread on their TikToks. And everyone's like doing fun things at home. I was like, I want to learn about finance, which makes me so boring and dull. But it was one I wanted to learn because like I had been an artist creative my entire life. And I'm sitting there at that point, I'm early 30s. And I'm like, I don't know anything about how money works. Like I don't know a single thing how it works. And, the creative life, the artist life is combative when it comes to money. It's kind of like in the ethos of being an artist where it's like, I don't care about money, man. Like it's the root of all evil, like that kind of thing. And for a period of your life, I get it. You're sort of a bleeding heart. And, if you're going for something spectacular, like I wanted to be a rock star at one point. So if you're going to do that, you get these spectacular outcomes if you make it. So at that point, you're like, well, I guess I'll figure out money then. It's like, then I'll have like a financial advisor, I get all that stuff. But I wanted to learn. So I started to learn, studied a bunch of podcasts. At the time, there was these things like the PPP loans and the small business loans and the stimulus checks and all this shit. And I just wanted to learn about how finance works. So I learned about the Fed and learned about how all this stuff works. And you learn about the cryptos and Bitcoins, which were more contemporary at the time. And I really fell in love with like that Bitcoin ethos. But the first person that really taught me how Bitcoin works was the guy who we've worked with for years, and it's Anthony Pompliano. He made a video somewhere in like the early summer of 2020, like from his apartment, and like he's just like live streaming, and he's like, I'm gonna explain how Bitcoin works. And what's crazy is that it worked. It explained exactly how Bitcoin operates, and like I got it. I was like, oh, like you've had the moment, so we understand it. Like that light bulb moment when Bitcoin clicks, you go, oh, I got it. It becomes this like really weird sort of like non-tangible thing. You're like, I don't even know what? Once you get it, you get it.
No, 100%. Yeah, I had that same feeling too. Like once you understand it, and it's hard to explain it to people
Still hard to explain.
But like it's like I understand it, and you do too, and like everyone we work with. But it's just a beautiful thing once you understand it, and you view finances completely different.
I always fell in love with the ethos more than I did dollar go up. Dollar go up is nice, but I always fell in love with it. I fell in love with the fact that it's like a decentralized currency, and it's for the people, and the retail investors built it up, and it's you learn about the Fed and how fiat money works, and you go, oh God, this is a horrible system. So it really was a really great experience. But then I wasn't even planning on doing anything in that realm. But if you look at it, all I'm doing is listen to podcasts all day. So we're starting to transition the days where now I'm doing podcasts today. So that's 2020. Then this event happened where like I was hospitalized in September and I couldn't work for like months. I had like this random foot infection. I had like to get surgeries. Like it was crazy. I got knocked on my feet. I couldn't even work. I couldn't even live in my apartment in New York City. Like it's one of those events where people have in their life where it's like a really horrible event and it could like totally throw you off the path and lead to despair and bad things, or it can lead to like the greatest changes of your life. And I sort of view the world of like, it's the universe pushing you a little bit. Maybe they could have pushed me without all the hospital bills, but it pushes you to a new place. And I'm sitting at home. I'm basically 3 months I'm going to be out of work for like 3 months because I can't walk. I have to like heal from surgery and all this stuff. Like, and then I'm sitting on Twitter at my mom's house thinking I'm a fucking loser. And then I see Pomp tweet out. I just saw the tweet in the first 5 minutes. I saw like, hey, I'm looking for a video editor. And it's just one of those like, F it kind of moments. You're like, all right, might as well. And it's like, those are the times where your life changes exponentially. It's never something you plan out. It's always like, I just did this and it worked. And then you look back, go, I was smart. And like, so, but then it was cool. I started working with him, and I because I had so much production background, I was able to take his product to a much higher level. And then I had a job for the worst of the pandemic, which was like the winter up in the Northeast. I was in New Jersey. And we had a job. And then we started to talk about, hey, let's do production in person. And at the time, people in the sort of tech world started to move to Miami and Austin. And then we went to Miami, built a studio there, launched a live television show, live YouTube show every day called The Best Business Show. And that's what we did for a year. And it was really cool. It was there's a show nowadays called in the tech world called TPPN that does every day. But like we were doing that back in 2021. Like we were live streaming on X and YouTube, and we were getting after it. It was a fun show. So it was really cool. Like it was moving to Miami was great. It was great to get out of the city during pandemic days. Miami's so beautiful, and we worked, and it was just this complete like, it really was a moment like I'd never thought my life was going to be this way. Like I was like, that's crazy. Like I never thought that was going to happen.
Yeah, and then when I came on to the Best Business Show, I didn't realize how much behind the scenes stuff there is.
Yeah, like
you have 6 monitors in front of you, live switching stuff, pulling up graphics. You guys are putting out like 5 clips a day. So it's just crazy when I was watching the show. I'm like, oh, it's just a YouTube show. And then when I get there and I see all the back end and the production, I'm like, holy shit, dude, there's a lot going on.
Yeah. And that's the direct result of me working in television. So everything you do leads to the next thing. You become this amalgam of different things and events and interests and jobs and skills. And so when we were launching the live show, like I know how to do this. Like I know you have to get the video switcher. I know how you have to route the cameras. I know you have to build some graphics out for it. So it's always funny how it all just ends up connecting. Even though this is something like an industry that I left, I'm still as part of it as I ever was.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, I remember when I first met you, it was at the Bitcoin conference, I think in 2022. And immediately you were commenting about my shoes. We were shooting the shit about baseball. And I was like, this is my guy. We just hit. And then the first night I was in Miami, we went to Rick Ross. We had bottle service through the sponsor.
What a way to start.
My first night. And then I remember you were the last one there with me. We were there till, I don't know, like 5 a.m. But I was like, hell yeah, dude. Like, I love Miami. And then I will always remember that. Like the first day, I was like, dude, I bonded with you so quick and we were boys. And yeah, I love that Miami time. And then you taught me a lot through all the production, the video editing. And then after Miami, you ended up moving back to New York. And now we joke that like you're the mayor of New York. And you built the Manhattan Lab in New York with Anthony. So what inspired you to kind of start your own podcast studio? And was that always a goal of yours?
It always was. I remember being in Miami and like we were doing great with the Best Business Show. We were making great money. And I was just like, the only thing that's missing is this is not New York City. And so like I'm a New York City freak. Like I love this city. As clownish as it is, as much as people rag on it all the time, like I love it here. It always just spoke to me. I always got it. Every time I leave, I come back. I had this like love affair with this place. And it's always a place I want to be. So I moved back. I stopped working with Anthony at the end of 22. I moved back to New York City end of summer of 23. And then for a while, I just started like a remote podcast business. So all this stuff I was doing, all this like random videography, the music, doing the podcast thing with Anthony, a business show. Then it started to synthesize. I'm like, okay, what do I want to do with this? And and the podcast thing was kind of the amalgam of everything that I'm interested in and I like, right? So it's like, it's the TV production side, it's the entertainment side, it's the characters and show building and entertainment, like all this stuff that I love. It kind of like combines into one. So, and that's what finally helped me sort of get some clarity of what I was doing, because even when I was having success in video, I didn't know what I was doing with it. I just knew it was a skill that I was really good at, but I was like, I didn't want to do a lot of the stuff my contemporaries were doing on YouTube. I didn't want to be a film director. I worked in the industry. I've interned for some of those industries. I hated them. You mentioned earlier, and it's like a really important part of my journey is like so much of what I do now is what I didn't like doing before. So following all the video stuff, like I used to run around with my gear everywhere. And now it's like I built a studio where like all the gear's here. Like you got to come here. Like I'm not carrying any piece of gear anywhere. Like I have like a no gear policy when I travel. I literally sync up my laptops from here and home, so I don't have to ever carry a single piece of gear, like a laptop. I don't have to carry anything. Every once in a while I carry an SSD, like a small little thing. That's it.
Oh, so that's so badass.
So that's so nice. Yeah, you build your world based around like what you don't want to do anymore. And like I'm at peace with like I did all that. Like I fucking ran around the city with gear. And so getting back to the original question, I wanted to do a studio. And I was like, I want a studio in New York City. And so I was like looking, because of like Anthony and because other clients I work with, I worked with Mike Solana from like Founders Fund and Pirate Wires. Like I got an insight to like the tech VC Silicon Valley world. And which is also crazy for me because I'm like, again, like I'm a creative type. And I'm like, how do I know these people now? Like, so it's a really cool journey of like just following whatever you're interested in. I was like, all right, I'll raise some money. And then in the spring of 24, Anthony hit me up. He was opening this office in New York. And I was telling him like, yeah, I want to do the studio thing. And he's like, well, why don't we start now? And so we entered our partnership to do the studio. And it was the expedient way of doing it, but it wasn't the right way to do it because it just got me in doing it, right? And so we built that in that summer, and then we probably launched to have clients come to the beginning of summer, like fall, no, like summer, fall of 2024. So like, it's been a little year and a half we're kind of going on doing this, and it's been cool. I mean, it's been a dream. It's been the best sort of career driver for me. I always say about the lab, it's not like it hasn't been like this like financial windfall, but it's been this like 10x career driver. Because everyone who I talk to, I go, I have a studio. I was a guest on a show this past week, and the girl was like, oh, we'll do a remote for like 90 minutes. I'm like, well, why don't you just come here? And it's like these weird things, like it just like it causes all these like moments that wouldn't have happened, all this serendipity, all these cool events. And so we did launch that. So, but what's cool is I still focus on Anthony's stuff. So we do that in the morning, and then in the afternoon we rent it out to people. And then our small little room has done really well. I mean, we've had some big names. Like the biggest one we had recently was Chris Williamson, and so we had Bernie Sanders, and so it's been a cool journey of people that come by, and you never know who's going to come by, and it's a plus for my clients that can come by, and I can sign someone. They can like, hey, the studio. If you're in New York City, even if you're not in New York City, if you come here every couple of months or a couple of weeks, you can film here. So it really has been an example of like all the things combining into one. And now for the past year or two, it's just been like hyper focus.
Got it. Yeah, I got a couple questions about because I currently have like this den that I consider my office, and I don't even know where to begin kind of organizing it for like a studio. So how long did it take you, and how did you decide how to set up the studio? Because you have multiple different angles. You can like pull the shades, and you can have black curtains, or you can have glass. So how long was that process from when you initially got the room to when you guys opened up the podcast studio, and how did you kind of design it?
A good thing to take with you, and this relates to what you're building, most of the studio building is based off of what is wrong with the room, right? So this wasn't the initial like plan. The plan, like this everything's glass here. That's not a way to build a studio. That's not optimal, right? So you go, okay, what can we work with? And I think you just build at first and just sort of iterate on it, and you work with the confines of the room. Like, you know, everything that's here was built because all of the plugs and electrical were over here, and we were able to do the curtain thing, and so like everything was almost like a happy accident. Like if I was given an empty room that was actually more optimal for a podcast room, I don't know if I would have built this. And it's actually kind of the beauty in it because it works so perfectly, but it's like this messy luck thing. I think of it like if you go to a restaurant, like a high quality restaurant, like a Michelin star restaurant, they'll bring the food and it's like nicely prepared and like, look how good this is. But if you go into the kitchen, like the kitchen is just chaos, right? So it's like, that's how you got to figure it out. Like as long as it's presented well, that's good. So like, and a lot of this was like happy luck. Like the way I'm even lighting, I broke some of my lighting rules. And so when we initially did it, we had the glass, and then like, that was actually almost an accident itself. Like, oh, it actually kind of looks good. And then we did the curtain thing. And then because of all the other technology, you can get RGB lights and change it. So it really was this thing of just trying different things and making it work. And if I go back to version 1 of the studio, it's way different than it is today. So that's also a good example of like iterating and like concept, like it's not like keep finding tunes. It's not quite there. Like the version that exists today is way better than what it used to be. So it's a good example of like, no, work with the space you got. So if you have a space, you go like, I don't know if it works for production. You can make it work. You just have to sort of like think wholly, like, okay, what can I actually do here? And if you're given the chance, I would do so much different things in this room, but this is what I got right now. So you make it work.
Got it. And then the other question I had was, I have some clients in Miami, and they sometimes will ask if they can come just film at my apartment. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. But how do you balance if you have like a friend or someone that you relatively know and they want to come use the podcast studio? It's like you want to help out a friend, but you also kind of need to make money. So how do you find the balance of like charging people who you know and also wanting to help them? And I also heard you make a comment one time where you're like, friends don't ask for discounts. So how do you balance charging your friends or charging your clients to come film? And how do you set up that like agreement?
Yeah, two things there. So the charging thing is real. I learned that a while ago. I forget who said it, but like it's either full price or free. And so that gets you out of like the messy middle. So sometimes with friends, like, oh, I'll give you a discount here. Then like your pricing structure just gets out of control, right? So you have like different price structure for 10 different people, and then everything gets sloppy. So I think like a good rule of thumb is full price or zero. You're either going to hook someone up or you go like, hey, listen, this is the race I charge, and that's what I charge. I will say to you about the friends asking and the hookups, it's probably the things I struggle the most because I'm such like, I like helping people. And I like giving people the space. If like literally, like if I literally had my way, and I'm not bullshitting with you, I would operate this place similar to like how Joe Rogan operates the mothership. He says all the time, like we don't know what their financials are, but he always says like, I don't really care as long as like it breaks even and makes a little bit more, and I can like pay everyone and like we operate. Great. Now, of course, Joe Rogan's making $100 million on his podcast, so like let's not lose context there. But I love that idea of just, hey, come by and use it, and as long as we're good, as long as I'm paying everyone, as long as I'm getting my cut of it all, like we're good. And so like I do struggle a lot with like trying to help people. So I do have this thing where I always wanted like, hey, because I just remember when I was in my early 20s and I just wish I could have had someone like me kind of show me the way. So I struggle with it a lot. It's become less of a struggle over the past year or two, almost by proxy, because I'm just so busy. Like I literally can't do it. Like I couldn't give you time if I wanted to. So it's like, which I guess is good and bad, but it's something I'm not great at, but I do try to get better at it. I do like, even when I'm talking to a friend now who might start something. She might leave the industry soon and think of starting something. But like, I'm very upfront with like these are the prices that I charge, right? This is what I charge. And so I think then it gets out of like this guessing game. And also on my website for the Manhattan Lab, like all the pricing's there. So there's no guessing game. I'm very upfront with money. And so I think like the more you can hit things with brutal honesty, the better you'll be. But you do have to sort of make sure that you're not, everyone's just sort of like, coming through and taking advantage of you leaving. So I've had to learn that a lot this year. And I got into a couple positions last year where not only the studio end, but like the client end, I used to do a thing where I would like help people in the beginning and like work for them a little for free at first. Then we would build and have revenue share. And like I got fucked over last year really badly, like bad. And I had to shut down that system. So unfortunately, sometimes you get burned and like you have to like try something else. But now I tend to look at myself, I'm at the point in my career, like, okay, Matt, you've been doing this for now, 15, 20 years. I got to start treating myself like a luxury brand. Like you can either work with me or you can't. So like now I have to make these sort of strict rules, like what I do. I think that's kind of helping. I think the more there's like that power in no, where like the more you can say no and just like, this is what I do. I'm only for a few people and that's how we're going to roll. I think that's great. There's a power to like saying yes in the beginning. I think that's what you ran into, where you're in Miami, you're trying to grow your clientele and you just want people in the door because you want opportunities. Like I get that so much. I still had that thing inside me that has like, it's like a lack mentality where I think I'm never going to get a gig again. So I always want to get someone in the door. But I think for you, there does come a time where, okay, like I got these few people, we're going to change our policy here. And like, if someone's using your place for free, maybe they're like grandfathered in because you've known them for 2 years, and like maybe in context matters. So maybe like that person helped you out when you had nothing, or maybe they introduced you to someone who then changed your career. So context matters. You don't want to throw people out the door. But I think if you're asking the question, that means you're sort of hitting a point where I can't do this anymore. So then it has to get strict to go, listen, this is what it is. And I spent money in this gear. I spent time in this gear. And the hard thing about being creative is that everyone's going to try to take advantage of you. It's the thing that everyone wants for free. Everyone wants the free video, the free music, the free movie. It's a thing that comes with being in the arts. And so you really have to start to stand your ground. So I would say if you're asking the question, that means it's on your mind, which means I would start to implement those policies, start to keep your clients that you have, focus on them, and then get real strict with who comes in and out the door, right? Like maybe if you say, hey, maybe the first one's on me, that's fine. But then you have to start to hit like some strict policies.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And yeah, I think everybody, you, myself, Jordy, went through that phase of just like saying yes to everything. Mm-hmm. And then when you start to tell people no, the demand actually goes up because they want it, and then you're putting out good work, and they see the clients you're working with. So that all makes sense. So switching to, I guess, more of like the podcast side of things, I call you the pod god. I think you crush podcasts. Yeah. You work on huge podcasts. So what are some mistakes you see when someone's starting a podcast or they're building a setup to record their podcast? What are some common mistakes people make? And how would you advise them to start a new podcast or start like a studio?
So the first thing, I'm at this place where I'm sort of asking people like, why you'd want to start a podcast? Like I'm actually almost like the anti-podcast podcaster, which is kind of funny. But we're at a part where it's almost like it's a meme. It's cliche. Everyone and their mom has a pod. I'm a podcast bro. You're a podcast bro. Like we're memes. Like I go to some places that like I was joking with my friend who works in TV. We were at a table. She's an anchor in New York City, and I said if we sat at this table and someone walked up to us and she goes, hey, I'm an anchor on TV, and I go, I'm a podcast producer or whatever. She would get more attention. Meanwhile, she's on the table with me asking how to do podcasting because she has to get out of the industry, right? And like so, so everyone's doing podcasts, and I just don't understand why for most people. So if you think about being a podcast host, you're a radio show host. This is the stuff that only like a few people in the country used to be able to do. We used to have anchors like Walter Cronkite do the news. Like we had like Tom Brokaw kind of thing. Like it's like all these people that like. It used to be this like really small space of people where everyone could do it. Now everyone can ask questions. So now we're in the slop era, and everyone's just having pods and opening them and having guests. And I go like, why? Like to be a host is a lot of work. You have to research. You have to book the guests. You have to get people in. Like, and I question why people do it half the time. And so I think the first question I'm like, why do you want to do it? What is it serving? Why do you want to be a radio show host? Because there's a ton of content you can make that's not a podcast. That's the first thing I want to ask. And then studios and everything. I mean, like everyone kind of has a bad setup at some point. So you have to kind of teach them how to do the studio right. But I really get into the question up front of just like what we're doing here. And I tell people to really define your goals up front. So not only am I asking why they're doing the pod, but like what's your goal here? And by the way, the beauty of the mature state of podcasting is that it doesn't have to be this thing where you're going to be a top 10 podcast in the country. You could be, but I have people who use this podcast and they use it for their business. And we're getting to this kind of point where everyone is their own media company. And so the companies will use the podcast and it's for their business, but is it going to generate a ton of views? No, but it's kind of this front-facing media operation for them that makes their company look better. And so and then they tell me they don't get a lot of views, but they put the clips out and oh, well, this clip, led to this and led to that. But and so there's all these metrics of success that aren't number go up top 10 in the country. So I'm always brutally honest with people. I say, first of all, why do you want to start a pod? And what are your metrics of success? And is this something that you want to do for a while? Is this something that you're passionate about? Do you care about asking questions, or are you just trying to get a clip and just get something out? Because everyone wants to do a pod, we're coming out of this period where I call it the guest arms race, where everyone's just trying to get the biggest guests all the time. Get a guest. Get Mark Andreessen, get Pomp Marlinkski, get all these people. And then it's why? And so I try to push people to think more holistically about what they're doing. And that doesn't mean all this conversation doesn't mean great podcast, but it just means we're thinking up front, what do we want to do? What do we want to accomplish? And then we can kind of get into the weeds of, okay, what technically you have to do, then the strategy of it all. But we joke, Tyler, and I'll share with people, we have the data and the vibes. I'm the vibes guy. I'm not the data guy. I'm the vibes guy. So I'm always just asking holistically about taste and what we're doing. And then, so if we're on the same page, we can really optimize to make great work.
No, absolutely. And yeah, we've talked before where it seems like everybody wants to copy the diary of a CEO.
It's crazy.
Use their intro. But you brought up a good point where it's you got to find your own style, kind of. You can't just copy what they're doing.
It's insane.
And
the fucking words. God, the words on the screen fucking everywhere. God, the fucking words.
I know, dude. I just see them more and more. And I just completely agree with all that. So a couple more questions I have is, you obviously have a shit ton of work running the studio, editing your clients' podcasts, running your business. How do you, structure your day? And how do you fulfill all your clients' needs while running the studio, while recording Anthony's show in his office? How do you structure your day? Or are you day to day where all right, I just got to get this done and then I'll go to sleep and then wake up tomorrow and we'll do that? How do you kind of structure your day and your week?
The latter is probably what it's been more. I'm not the optimizing king. I'm not the systems guy. I'm not the wake up at 4 a.m. and journal guy. I'm not. Maybe I should be. Maybe it might help me at this point. But I would say I'm coming out of a period that I was in such intense build mode, and especially in the past 12 months, where I was just going. And so the downstream effects has been I haven't been the best at the work-life balance thing. I haven't been best on the health thing. I haven't been the best on seeing friends and family thing. But I'm building, and I just knew I'm going to this period of life where I have to go. So I do tend to take each day by day, and I have to edit. So a lot of my job is editing. That's the hardest thing because it's probably the thing I'm in demand for the most, and it's the thing that's the most time consuming. So I really have to take each day by okay, Monday I have the okay, then Tuesday I have So it is a priority list of things I have to get done. So if you're working on shows, and that show goes out Tuesday, okay, well, Monday you got to get that edit done, right? If you have 2 shows that are going on Tuesday, then you have to get those edits done. So it does tend to be very priority focused. And we do Anthony's show in the morning. So we do a show called From the Desk of Anthony Pompliano. It's this deal that we made with Twitter X. And it's actually we can get into it. It's my thesis of building shows going forward. And it's that's a 10, 15 minute finance show. We do 3 or 4 topics, and it's quick out the door kind of thing. And so the studio's closed in the morning. So I had to close the studio. So I had to be able to focus on that. But I would say listen, I'm the first to admit that I'm a stunning failure in a lot of things. I put too much on my plate. I've had people I couldn't serve all their needs. So in the process of trying to be the thing I've struggled with, I'm trying to be for everyone. I'm trying to get my name out there, and I'm trying to be known for my work. I'm not shy about it. I want to be known for what I do. But sometimes it means I'm just bringing in too many people. So this year has been a big thing of synthesizing. I think at some point last year I was doing 10 shows. Dang. And now now I think I have 6. I think I have 6 right now. But then I still have 4 or 5 that come through the studio that Colin, who I work with, is kind of running. And so it's a lot. And then the studio side. And then what's happening is also now, because of this space, now I'm getting asked to build studios for other people. So I have like 3 or 4 of those going on right now. So it's like,
Damn.
I'm not sleep. It's not, I don't romanticize what I do, man. I really don't. It's hard. It's really hard work. And I think it's the thing I struggle with the most. And I think I follow into the same trope that a lot of creators fall into, where they're like, it's hard to train what I do and give it to other people. So even I hired Colin and I kind of trained him from scratch. Like it's hard to teach taste and feel and all these things that take a long time to learn. So you sort of like try to speed run it. But it's hard to find people to like that I can trust to really like do the work. And so I think a big part of this year is I'm trying to like funnel a little bit and get a little more focused. But really it is like a day-to-day, like whatever we have to do and get done. But the reason why I'm okay with that is because I just knew I was going to a period of like, you got to strike. Like everything's kind of happening. I'm a person who thought my life was going to go a lot different way, and I thought I was going to get this different success earlier in my life. And now I'm 37. I just turned 38 a few weeks ago. But it's like it's the moment's here. And you got to recognize the moment. So even if it means like for a year or two, like I'm kind of like not as social. Maybe I didn't take care of myself the best way. Maybe I'm like, I think it's okay because I had to do it. And I think if things go the way I think they're going to go this year, I think it would have been worth everything I did. So.
Got it. No, yeah, that's interesting. And yeah, it seems like a lot of us video editors and kind of creative people, it's literally day by day. You can't plan that far in advance, especially when your clients are like recording the day before it's got to be out or something like that. So you mentioned it. So you work a lot in like podcast media. And you said X is kind of the new trend. Where are some of the trends that you're seeing when it comes to podcasting? And like, where do you think the next preferred platform is? Do you still think YouTube is going to be king, or do you think Twitter potentially could take some of that market share when it comes to podcasts?
There's nothing to suggest that YouTube won't be the king. It's still the best monetization king. It's still the best data king. It's also the hardest one. That's the hardest platform. Just like YouTube it's just a death march of sadness. It's especially if you start launching something new, you start these channels and it's getting like 100 views, 1,000 views. You go, oh my God, you're
working so hard on making like these long form videos. It's not just like a short form clip that you put out. It's like people work really hard. And yeah, I agree. YouTube's a fucking grind.
It is. I was really bullish on X last year when we launched the show. The reality of X, it's like it is a pretty big bubble. Right. So I still think Instagram is the king for pop culture. Like I spent a lot of time on Instagram the past couple of months. There's still a place, like those are the places where you still get this like instant virality. And so we are living in a world where things are clipped and everything. So you have to learn how to work with the timeline. So I still do the live thing and I'm still the production guy, but you do have to have like some sort like a social media strategy. I call it hacking the timeline. Like how do you get on the platform? How are you constantly like in the zeitgeist, in the news? How are you constantly like there all the time? You're responding to things. So like you really have to optimize for like that virality of it all. And then you also have to just like do it every day. Like you might not realize how much these people post, like how much the top creators post. I mean, with Anthony, we're doing the daily show, which is 5 days a week, and then 3 to 4 Pomp podcast episodes. So all those episodes every week, and then you got to do the clips. So it's a lot. So you have to do the clip strategy. I still am super bullish on like, and everyone's going to excel on a different platform. So if like you're doing better on IG, then like really push the chips in to do all IG and keep building YouTube. Like never stop using YouTube. I think like if you're doing the pod, just keep with the YouTube, keep with the Apple, keep with the Spotify. Like that's always going to be there. But you do have to think more holistically about like how are you getting the virality outside of the YouTube of it all. And as you start to grow YouTube, you can start to optimize more for what Direct CEO and all these big channels do and how you do the thumbnails and the titling and everything. And we work really hard on it. But mostly in the early stages, if you're starting a pod, you're in the grind. And so you have to just like post a lot. You have to do at least one pod a week. I would argue you probably have to do 2 or 3 a week if you really want to start getting traction. So the unfortunate thing is there is a volume to it. And like, I don't love that. I don't like that we live in the slop world, but you got to hit it with volume. Like if you stand, again, like going back to expectations, if your expectation is to build a massive show, then you have to show up all the time, right? Like Pomp is about that life. Pat McAfee in the sports world is about that life.
Crazy. Yeah,
even if you don't like the Ben Shapiro's of the world, he's about that life. They show up every day and they do the thing. So if you want to be that caliber, you have to show up every day and do the thing. And so there's a book called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, and like it is like about like showing up every day and like you treat it like a professional. So if you want to do the content thing full time, you have to treat it like a professional. You have to show up and say, hey, we're going to put out content every day, and then sort of see what works best for you. Some people are like LinkedIn kings. Like I've had a few guests coming here for another show, and like they're big on LinkedIn, and so it's like you finding your platforms, finding what's working best for you. I would still optimize for YouTube always, but you really have to develop a strategy of what you're going to do on other channels, and then show up every day. It's like the best advice I give you. You got to give yourself shots on goal. Because if you're just not posting, like you're screwed. Like, and everyone else is posting all the time, so you got to at least give yourself a fighting chance.
No, absolutely, I agree. And I think people look at podcasters and other creative people like, oh, they're just posting content. It can't be that hard. But dude,
it's the hardest fucking thing.
Fucking post every day is hard, and I don't think most people realize that.
Podcast is so fucking hard. It's so hard. Like, I'm so soapboxing about this. It's so hard. Like there's so many things you have to do. It's a death by 1,000 cuts. I mean, it's you got to know how the production works and doing the questions and booking the guests and recording it. Is it high quality? And I got to edit it and I got to put it up on YouTube and Spotify. And is the title right? Is the thumbnail right? Like there's so many things that go into it, and like you really have to take it really seriously. I mean, this is hard work, and so but that's also why we're getting the age of the slop podcast, because people are turning on the mics and just yapping. And then they put it online, and it's like, what are we doing here, right? So there's not a lot of people that are respecting the craft of it, and that's kind of where like I'm the old man on the porch shaking my fist. Like no one appreciates the craft of it. And so like the clients who I work with, I'm really grateful for those people who are really like studying and like they take it seriously, and they take their craft seriously. And I'm such a stickler on craft. It's no different than this studio. It's like the amount of studios I go to where it's just built so shit and like no one knows what they're doing. Like I'm such a stickler for craft. And so if you're going to do podcasting, it's not easy. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. Like I tell every conversation I have with people, I don't bullshit. I go, this is hard. And so if you're going to do it, you got to commit.
Yeah, no, 100%. And yeah, there's a couple reasons where I just started this podcast. It was, I just want to talk to people more, I guess. And B, I'm using it as a way to kind of recruit video editors. Like with the first couple podcasts, I sent it to a couple video editors to just try to test them out and see what they could make. So the main part of me starting this pod was just try to help grow my agency where I can use it to try to find good editors, because I don't love giving like client work to other editors because I got to fix it. It's like timely. This I can just kind of give it to them and be like, hey, you have a month. Just show me what you can do. But I agree. There's a lot of podcasts out there that are just like slop. And to your point, Kraft, your apartment in Miami, the Marlinkski Lounge, like smoking a cigar, you really are about like that
vibes guy where it's like whatever you do, you gotta put vibes in it, you gotta craft it, and I think that goes well with a podcast as well. So one of my last questions is, you have the podcast studio in New York. Where do you see the Manhattan lab kind of evolving to other cities? And what are your goals for like 2026 and 2027? Real quick before I answer that, that's actually brilliant the way you're trying to find editors. That's actually really smart. I never heard anyone do that.
No,
so, like, kudos to you. It's really smart.
Yeah,
that's actually like you said. I was like, oh, that's a brilliant idea, actually. Low key. Trying to find video editors is tough, and especially if it's like timely. So I'm like, dude, I'm just going to create this content. And I've also had it where it's like, I want to start putting out my own content, and I'll quick record a short. It takes me, 20 minutes. But when I just have long form stuff, like I could pull like, 6 or 7 clips from this. Brother, I might steal that idea.
Dude, yeah, it's been good so far. And yeah, that's one of the main reasons I started it. But yeah, dude, start it. Like, just record shit and send it to video editors.
That's a great idea. To answer your question, we're probably gonna have an answer about expansion sooner rather than later. Mm-hmm. So right now I'm thinking about how to make like expand and make a bigger space here in New York City. That's kind of the main key. Like, so anyone who knows, who's been here, we have the studio here, but it's also connected to an office space. And so it's like a half podcast studio, right? It's like, and people come here, it's kind of confusing. So it's like, my goal is to have like just a podcast space, just a room where you go and it's just like, that's what we do. We just do podcasting or production or content or whatever you want to do there. So that's the big thing. I think like this year will be about the expansion of like the physical space. In terms of trying to do more studios in more cities, it's obviously like if it's a sort of wave the magic wand. If you can do it, great. And I've been asked probably by someone in every major city, and there's like something really enticing about having a studio in every city. It's like, yeah, fuck yeah, motherfucker. Like I rule the world. In practice, it's hard, right? So not only do you have to have video studios are extremely expensive, right? If I'm going to expand even here in New York City, I got to think like I need $500K at the minimum to do it. Like maybe $1 million. Like I just because like it just adds up so quickly of converting rooms into podcast rooms and getting the gear. I mean, this room in its own, it's like $85K worth of gear, right? So it's a lot. It adds up quickly. And so building in other cities sounds great on paper. You just need a lot of money to do it. And so like if I've got to raise money, is the juice worth the squeeze of raising capital that like I don't know if I'm going to like really give shareholder value back in the sense where it's studios are cool and they're great, but I think we are hitting this trend where people are going to start doing podcasts less because like we've been doing it for so long, and now like the trend starts to go away, which actually is good. Which can get into like another conversation. We could talk about like building shows and IP, but I think that I want to expand everywhere, but like it has to be right. And then also like if you build a studio, then you have to hire people to do it, and so it's a big undertaking. And so what I'm thinking through at the moment is still thinking of expanding the studio end of it in other cities. But what if I just really made like the Death Star here? What if I made like the best space here and just focus for a little bit on like just building the best New York space for like another year or so, and really like seeing that through. But as I say it, I get offers to do things, and I'm usually one to say yes and put too much on my plate. So you never know. That's where it's all going. And then in terms of like the industry itself, like I said, like I think there's gonna be like a drop of people doing it just because you just realize how hard it is and people quit. But at the same time, people are going to do it for other reasons, and I think everyone is going to become like a media company. So like they will want some sort of like podcasting or some sort of like a media arm where they're doing content. So I don't think it's going to go away. But I think for people like you and me, it's really thinking through like who do you want to work with and building shows and IP. And like every person I work with, I think, can I work with them for the next 10 years? Mm-hmm. Can I really, can I build long term? Every show that I build is built based off like an IP, and like I'm getting more bullish on solo shows. So that's why we did with Anthony with From the Desk. I'm working with this divorce lawyer named James Sexton right now, who's blowing up right now, and it's a solo show that we do on YouTube. So I don't have to do the guest thing anymore. I don't have to rely on getting the guest and booking and I guess, oh God, James, talk to this person and get that person. So like the way I'm conceptualizing it right now is if you could build a moat with your content, that you're free from the shackles of like, I have to get a guest, right? So can you build things that are free from it? So if I think of like your client, Omar, like he does real estate. Like, real estate's a great moat because like you're showing properties. So he can always do like solo stuff. Like actually one of like my North Stars right now, which how I'm conceptualizing building some things here is I think of Ryan Serhan. I think Serhan here in New York, the real estate agent, has done like, he's crushed the content game. And like, not only that, Serhan has these downstream effects where all the realtors that work for Serhan, they have their content thing. They have a show on Netflix. And obviously he's a huge star. He's been doing it forever, but he's a great example of like building the internal production machine. And it has all these downstream effects to everything else you're doing. And Serhan can run forever. Like they don't have to do like a podcast with guests, right? So if you have a client that can do things outside of just getting the guests and asking questions, I think that's really important. And I think the more you can build up your moat, so you're always just like your own being, own person. So when the gold rush of getting guests goes away, like if you notice even the past like year or two, like we're starting to lose like the interest. Like, if I'm in the tech space, it used to be like, oh my God, you talk to Pomp or you talk to Mark Andreessen, and like now it's kind of like everyone talk to them. So it's kind of getting less valuable, right? And so and then it's about finding the show. It's about finding the guests that are work for your shows. So something I always do with my guests, a great example here, I do Pomp's work, which is like finance based. And then I do this other client, I have Julia LaRoche, who also does a finance show. 2 finance shows that have the almost opposite guest structure, because Julia tends to have guests that are more TradFi, a little more gold. They hate Bitcoin. They hate it. Like the few times I had like Bitcoin focused guests, they like comments are just angry. We do Pomp, people love Bitcoin. So it's like, it's about finding the guests for your show. And I always think about it as finding your Marvel universe, right? So you're sort of creating like your own little universe where if you have one client that has, again, they're in real estate, like who are the people that work well for that person and who are like the unique people? And then are there people that you can build that come on regularly that you can sort of build with together? The best example that we know, Tyler personally, is the show we do with Pomp with Jordy Visser every Saturday morning. It's the best piece of content that we do. It gets the most views, the most accolades, the most attention on social, and it's the same guest every week, and it's super high quality. And then so if you're running a pod where it's like, oh, I have to book 2 or 3 people a week, well, there goes one of your slots right there. You just got someone. So can you build something internal where like you can run that show for the next 10 years, assuming they both want to do it? And so how do you build moats? How do you build your own little Marvel universe of people that are in your sphere? And then really focusing on like, who can you grow 10 years with? Who can you think long-term with? Because then we're all aligned incentively. If you're a creative, the best advice I can give to you is like, get out of being like the for hire guy. Like structure your contracts where you're a monthly retainer and you work with them all the time. Build in things like revenue shares where you're always going to like get some upside in what we're doing. And then you get out of being, hey, I'm editor number 4072, right? You're not the guy from Fiverr or even like AI now is coming up, or you're not some like Philippines editor. Like you're your own person. And so you have to think holistically about everything that you're doing, like why things are growing. So the more you can stack skills, the more you can grow with somebody, the more you can get out of gig life, and the more you can think about how to build like this universe for your show and your client, you'll be in good shape. So that's like from the studio end, from the production end, from the show building end, that's kind of like what I'm thinking about right now.
Got it. No, that makes complete sense. And yeah, that's a great example of Jordy and Pomp every Saturday. Not much friction. I assume Jordy shows up, record, and we put it up the next day, where I look at how many times do you think Alex Hormozy could go on the Chris Williamson podcast? Like, I don't know, but that's actually a lot of good stuff where, yeah, you got to build it internally to make it as easy as possible to keep growing. And then one last thing before we end is, you mentioned that you had a revenue share agreement at one point. If you were a creator and like a video editor, would you absolutely charge at least some type of monthly retainer if you're starting out a podcast with someone else and you're doing like all the back end stuff? Would you force them to give you at least some type of monthly retainer, or would you still maybe potentially take all upside?
Well, context matters, right? I wouldn't force anyone to do anything, but I think so. If you're, if think of you not too long ago, think of me, like sometimes you're at points in your career where you're just trying to like get in the door, right? You're sort of like you've been building your own thing, right? And you remember when you had no client, and you got like the the Annas of the world, you got the Omars of the world, and you start to like build. But if you go back to starting, if you're like, hey, I'm just trying to break in, like there is an opportunity to say like, I'm gonna find someone, and maybe they can't pay me that much money, but maybe you guys both sell the vision. And this, by the way, this can go on. This can be from the creator, like the creative side, but also can be from the creator side, where if you're trying to start something and you want to get someone to help you with it, like a me or a Tyler type of person, maybe you can't afford that right now, but can you say, hey, I would love to grow something with you and try, and like that could be on the creator as well. Like, can you offer them enticing packages to be like, hey, I can't pay your rate right now, but if we grow, I'll give you 5% or 10% or something, or 20%. I tend to be like, hey, listen, you can do, if you want to do 50-50, you can, but at the end of the day, like 51-49, it's always going to go to the talent. Like the talent's always, the talent has to do the show in order for it to exist. So is there a 5? Is there a 10? Is there 20? Like, is there something kind of like you can think of where you can get creative, where if we really build this together, we get the upside, because then everything's incentive aligned. If you're more established like me, it's harder. I'm kind of out of the world of like doing the free and take the money later. Like I just can't. Like I got bills to pay. I live in New York City, man. Like I got enough to deal with here. So like rent's expensive enough as it is. So I can't do the free anymore. And it's just like at some point I had to like shut that down, where it's like I got burned really badly last year. So I was just like, I can't do that anymore. So I think like context matters. But if you're early, try to think of things that are going to like separate yourself. That again, you got to do what you got to do. You got to do the gigs that are going to pay you the money. Maybe you have a day job. But if you see someone starting to create some content, or you meet them in your city, or you see them online, maybe they're just getting started, pitch them. Say, hey, maybe I can do this for you, and we can grow together. And if you're the creator who's looking for someone and they can't afford them, that might be something you want to do, because you want to treat creatives with respect in the terms like they work really hard, and sometimes we're treated very disposably. Like, I just edit and I'll see you later. But if you pour more care into a creative's life, like, you're going to get more out of it. The people I work the best with are the people who care about what I do, and they trust what I do, and they respect what I do. Everyone who I worked with, from, I always, sometimes I talk to people who work for agencies or big companies, and they have to like deal with notes and all this stuff. And I'm like, I never get a single note from Pomp. I never got a single note from my Solana, from Julia LaRoche. I never get, like, James Sexton. I never get a single note, because they hired me and they trust me for what they do.
Yeah.
And by the way, I will say those people tend to exist. I tend to find that, like, those are the people who are usually in their 30s and 40s, because they start to understand how the world works. The 20-year-olds are the ones who, like, have a million notes, but because they think they know everything. But it's so I think there's like a trust and respect that has to come with it. So I think if you approach it like that, you could find some success in what you're doing. And if you do sort of like, if you guys do agree to some like revenue share, just make sure you write it down and have a contract, and just make sure like it's somewhere set in some legal setting, even if it's written down and signed, just so like we're sort of on the same page. And then, go on the journey together, because you never know what's going to happen. That person could be the next Arab CEO. You never know, or what they're going to be. So, or Alex Hormozy, or one of these people. So it would be something that's pretty interesting.
No, absolutely. I think that's all great advice. And yeah, I'm learning that, dude, you got to get shit in contracts.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, just do whatever it takes. But I appreciate all that. You have a wealth of knowledge. And if you want to learn how to run a dope ass studio, go to manhattanlab.com, because I think it's like perfection on how it's run and all the files that Matt gives us. And I appreciate working with you, Matt. And thanks for coming on. And I hope some people learned how to start a podcast, how to structure their day, how to be a creative. And thanks for coming on, man.
It's all love, brother. I appreciate you. And whoever's watching, Tyler's a really good example of someone who pivoted and had no video experience and started something new, and he wanted to change his life, and he did it. So you're a great example of like someone who tried and took shots and took a risk. And now you can sit here today and like, hey, like it's has some good payoff to it. So kudos to you. And I'm really proud of you, everything you've done. I'm happy to have seen the journey. And if you guys are in New York City, come to the Manhattan Lab or hit me up.
Hell yeah. Sounds good, bro. I appreciate you.
My pleasure.